Press start.
What's up, smart homers? Aaron here. Today I want to show you a smart curtain solution that's a little bit different than what you may be used to. I'm going to show you two different motorized curtain track systems from Zemismart. Full disclosure, Zemismart did send me these review units, but no money exchanged hands and they did not tell me what I should say about them. However, there's always a little bit of bias when you're reviewing something that you didn't have to pay for. So I'm going to do a price analysis comparing the price of these units with comparable systems at their current prices. For a while now, I've been looking for the best smart curtain system when it comes to price, ease of installation, and long-term durability. I've tried SwitchBot, as you may have seen in a previous video, and while it works well as a retrofit, it's a little bit finicky and it doesn't integrate very well with Home Assistant. Even the most recent Home Assistant update that brought the native integration of SwitchBot, it still requires Bluetooth, and I really want to be able to use Wi-Fi for this. Another downside of SwitchBot devices is the fact that they're battery powered, and I really don't want to replace or charge any batteries that I don't have to. These issues are all solved by the Zemismart Wi-Fi curtain track systems. I'm going to show you two different models, the standard model and the extendable track model. This way you can see the difference between them and decide which one you want, and I'll also compare them with SwitchBot so you can see if this is a better option for you. These devices are different than SwitchBot because they replace your curtain rod completely. Both of these units are motorized belt-driven systems that allow you to open and close the curtains automatically, of course. They both run on 120 volts power, and they require you to have the type of curtains that use curtain hooks. You can't use the grommet style curtains for these. Both units have built-in Wi-Fi capability, but they also have RF remotes if you'd rather just control them with the RF signal. This means that you can use a Broadlink RM4 Pro or other RF controller to send the signals to these curtains. Since both of these curtains run on Tuya software, they can be easily integrated with Google and Amazon Assistants and, of course, Home Assistant. Before we dive into looking at the device hardware or how they work in Home Assistant, let's quickly look at the price of these units. Since the price of these units really varies depending on the length of track that you want, I'm going to pick 3 meters as the required length and compare the prices there. The standard model comes in at $200 for a 3.2 meter track, and the extendable model comes in at $230 for a track that can be extended from 1.7 to 3 meters. Now, before you go into sticker shock, let's look at what a comparable SwitchBot system would cost. In order to get a SwitchBot system that's comparable to this, you need 2 SwitchBot curtains, you need a SwitchBot Hub Mini in order to connect to Amazon and Google Assistants and easily connect to the cloud. And you're also going to need some solar panels so that you don't have to charge these units. You add all this up and at current prices you're looking at $263 for the full system. So on paper these track systems look like a better option than SwitchBot, but how do they compare? First we'll look at the standard model. The most difficult part of this model is assembling the track system. This requires assembling a full-length track using pre-sized pieces of track. The track sizes come in roughly 39 inches, 20 inches, 8 inches, and 4 inches, and these track pieces need to be pieced together in such a way that you reach close to your desired length. The track is assembled with set screws, and once completed, the ends can be temporarily added in order to get a rough fit and make sure it's going to fit in the spot you want it. Once you think the length is good, you're going to need to cut the lengths of belt for the belt drive system. A belt clip and a measuring tool are provided to assist you, and the instructions are pretty clear on how to do this. You can set up for a single open one way or a double open both ways. For double open, I needed to cut 2 belts per the instructions. Once you cut the belts, you attach a belt buckle to one end of each belt, and then you attach carrier rollers to the buckles and then feed the belt into the track. Both belts are fed all the way through, and then you loop the non-buckled end of each belt through the end cap, and then add a buckle and carrier to it like you did before. After this, you feed these ends through the track as well, and the tension on these belts pulls the ends onto the track. After that, the hardest part is done. Next, you have to add brackets to the buckles at the end of each belt. These brackets tie the ends of the belt together at those buckles and allow both belts to move as one belt. After this, you kind of test out the track to make sure it's running smoothly and that you hooked everything up the way you thought you were supposed to. Then you can add the curtain hook attachments into the track system. These hook attachments are little loops on rollers, and the hooks for the curtains hook into the loops. You're going to need to figure out how many of these attachments you actually need, but the instructions say that you should use 8 per meter. This really depends on how many hook spots you have on the back of your curtains. Once you've added them, you can screw on the clamp at the end so they can't come out. Now you're ready to install it in your window. This unit is made to be installed to the ceiling or the underside of a window frame, but they do give you some brackets so that you can mount it directly to the wall if you want. I mounted it to the top of my window frame, screwing the clips into the top of the window frame and then popping the track in. Only one end of the track has an attachment spot for the motor. So I made sure when I put the track in, the driven side was on the side closest to an outlet. Once the track is installed, you can pop the motor into its socket by pushing it in and then twisting. And then you can go ahead and set up the RF controller and the Tuya Smart Life app. The instructions for setting up the Smart Life app and the RF controller were pretty straightforward, but I did find that my curtains were going in the opposite direction. When I pressed the close on the RF remote, the curtains were opening and vice versa. The instructions show you how to reverse the direction of the motor, but when I did that and I looked in the Tuya Smart Life app, the direction was reversed there. I opted to just leave the direction correct in the Tuya Smart Life app, but the remote is going to be wrong. I'm not sure if I installed something incorrectly or what, but I'm just going to leave it. Okay, so next let's look at the extendable track model. The standard model, as you can probably tell by now, is a bit of work to install. You got to cut the belts and assemble the track, and these issues are solved with this extendable track model. This model uses a pre-assembled track system, so there's no building of a track, there's no cutting of belts at all. The track can be extended or retracted in order to fit your window, and then it's locked into place. Once it's locked into place, you can test fit it into your window to see if the length is good. If not, you can always readjust it. Once extended, one of the sides of the track has some belt that's exposed. So there's a white piece of plastic they give you that you need to pop into a groove after you cut it to the right length. This way, the entire belt is covered and you don't see that. Next, you're going to need to reposition the curtain attachments that are already on the belt so that they're going to meet in the middle of the track because you've changed the length of the track. What you do is you move them both out as far as they'll go. One of them is going to hit the end of the track and the other one probably won't make it to the end of the track. So what you do is you loosen the one that didn't make it all the way and then you slide it all the way back to that side of the track. Then you tighten it back up again and test out the track. They should now meet in the middle. Next, you can add the curtain hook attachments, which aren't rollers like they were in the previous model, but instead are little plastic clips that just slide in the track. Since the two sides of the track are actually offset from each other a little bit, put the clips in so that they curve toward each other on each side of the track. This will keep the curtains in line with each other as much as possible when they come together, since they're on offset tracks. After this, you're ready to mount the curtain in the window. In this case, I actually mounted mine to the wall above the window using the provided bracket system. This bracket system is not as easy to use as the other system. You have to put a bracket into the track and then twist it into place, and it's just a little bit more complicated than the other system. Next, you can add the motor to the drive end of the system, just like we did in the previous model. Twist it into place, and then go ahead and follow the instructions for setting up RF in the Tuya Smart Life app. Alright, so now that we've gone over the install, let's look at the functionality of these units. Both of these models work pretty much the same. They work very well, and they're very robust. While the SwitchBot curtain units can sometimes get hung up on things like a step in the curtain rod, these curtains run super smooth due to that nice track and belt drive system. They have strong enough motors to overcome a little resistance, like when curtains are kind of rubbing the back of a couch that's in front of your window, and they can really handle some fairly heavy drapes. They're also much quieter than the SwitchBot units, but the telescoping model seems to be quieter than the standard model. Either way, both are pretty quiet compared to SwitchBot. Both of the curtains have the pull to start feature, which allow you to start the curtains moving in whichever direction you choose by giving a little tug. This gives you the necessary manual operation of the devices so that you're not stuck with just using voice commands or an app. It also means you don't need to have the RF remote lying around if for some reason your internet goes down, since these are cloud-based. Also, the standard model requires a much firmer tug on the curtain if you want to get that curtain moving. This may be a good thing depending on if you have kids around or not, but I prefer the easier pull. Both models work pretty much the same in the Tuya Smart Life app, with the ability to set the curtain percentage or put it at fully open or fully closed. The setup is quite easy with no calibration of the opened or closed positions like with SwitchBot. When the motor feels enough resistance, it just stops and remembers the position that it was at. As I mentioned previously, they both allow you to reverse the direction of the motor if for some reason it's going the wrong direction. Using voice assistance is super easy with these curtains as long as you have your Tuya Smart Life app connected to your Amazon or Google accounts. You're all good to go. You can tell them to open, close, or even what percentage to go to. In Home Assistant, there are some other differences between these two. Both come up as a cover entity when using the Tuya V2 integration, but the standard model doesn't seem to function at all. Attempting to open or close the curtains, or even set the position, doesn't seem to work. For the extendable model, however, the open, close, stop, and set position commands work properly, but the entity's state is unavailable unless it's changing position. It seems like it's not reporting its state back to Home Assistant. In Loveless, the entity card shows open, close, and stop buttons, and a slider can be used to set the curtain position to the desired percentage. As far as ease of install goes, as you probably saw, the standard model is a little bit more daunting when it comes to getting that all set up. If a mistake is made cutting the belt and you cut it too short, you could be in trouble. Also, since the track comes in predefined lengths, if you want an exact length, you may need to take the aluminum channel and cut it with a miter saw. It really takes some willingness to get hands-on with that track system. So if you're looking for just an easy install, obviously the extendable rail model is right for you. The extendable track model is super simple to get the exact length, requires no belt cutting and no track assembly. It really only requires some hand tools for installing the brackets. Next, let's consider the aesthetics of these two. When you install both these units, the track is exposed above the curtains. This is probably the biggest complaint I have with these units, that the tracks aren't super beautiful and you have to see them above the curtains. The idea for these units is probably that there's some sort of valance or cover that you should buy that goes over around the track so that you don't see it. But for most people, they probably don't have that. The extendable track model looks worse in my opinion because you see those two offset tracks over the curtain. It's also a little bit taller, so you see a little bit more track. This looked even worse for me because I had it installed on the wall rather than on the underside of a window frame where it's kind of tucked away a little bit. And also the wall mount brackets look pretty bad, and you could probably get some better looking ones from a hardware store. The standard model track to me looks a lot better because it's more low profile, and when mounted flush to the top of a window frame, it's a lot less noticeable. The curtains that you choose to use with this will have a big impact on how much of that hardware you see. So let's talk about durability. I mentioned at the beginning that the SwitchBot units can be a little bit finicky, and these units are far from that. These units are capable of carrying pretty heavy room darkening drapes that are 83 inches, and I'm pretty sure that the SwitchBot would struggle to push these along. Both of these units can handle quite a bit of weight, although I didn't test exactly how much, But from the design, I would say that the standard model with its rollers, rather than just plastic clips, could probably handle a little more. So which should you buy? Overall, both of these models are great, but the extendable track model is your best bet. Even though it costs a little more, the fact that it works with Home Assistant kind of seals the deal. If you don't like the offset track look or prefer a lower profile and don't care if it integrates with Home Assistant or not, the standard model may be the way to go. Either way, you can still control both of them with voice assistants. Hey guys, editor Aaron here. It's pretty late at night right now, but just wanted to let you guys know that just today I was messaging with Frank, and he's the one who's doing a lot of the Tuya development for this native Home Assistant integration, and he mentioned that he had just gotten covers working. So as soon as that comes out, I will be testing it out, and I'll leave a link in the description if the standard model works after that or not. Anyway, back to the video. I hope I've given you enough information in this video to decide which one would fit your home or situation best, but either way, it's probably a better option than SwitchBot if you're looking for a unit to be a permanent solution. If you're just looking for a retrofit, like if you're in an apartment or something, then SwitchBot is probably better. If you have any questions, if there's anything I didn't cover, feel free to leave a comment and try to get back to you. Anyway, that's all I have for you. I hope you found this content useful. If you have, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video and consider subscribing. As always, I have links in the description for all the products in this video. And if you're interested in looking at all the different devices I use in my smart home, go ahead and check out my website. I've also left a link in the description. Look out for more review videos and guides in the future. Thanks for watching. See ya.